Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joshua Wyrock, and today we'll be discussing the widely debated topic on what influences people to believe the religious and the political ideas that they believe today. First of all, most people account what they believe to what their parents or grandparents believed and said to them. Whenever you ask somebody, why do you believe that religion, or you ask somebody, why do you believe that political idea, we'll usually trace it back to, well, my parents said that was right, or my grandparents said that was right. And we've always been taught the apple never falls too far from the tree. Well, now it's kind of, the apple never falls too far from the tree unless the wind catches it while it's young. And in this metaphor, the wind is society. And society really shapes a kid's brain around the ages of 13 and 14 because it's been proven in a lot of psychological studies that around the ages of 13 and 14, children start to second guess what their parents have told them, and they start to ask why things instead of just believing. And this really is proven through the study that if you ask a 45-year-old man about a bunch of different social issues, they'll be completely in line with what was going on while he was growing up around that age. Well, if you ask a 15-year-old kid those same questions about those same social issues, their ideas will be completely flipped because nowadays society has changed its opinions on gay marriage, drug legalization, religious tolerance, race issues, pollution awareness, and gun control. They flipped those ideas of what they used to be to now a more free lifestyle or even a more chained down lifestyle. And this whole societal idea flip has really changed what people believe as they're growing up nowadays, and the religious views and the political views really evolve with the society evolving their ideas too. Let's see what a political scientist has to say about what people believe and why. Over the past 300 years, what do you think has compelled people to pick the political parties that they're a part of?
I would have to say the political parties that are out there, everybody came to America from other countries for their freedom and freedom of choice. And I think once they got to America and they decided what they wanted and didn't want in their lives is how they picked their political views, be it more conservative or be it more liberal. And that's how we kind of got the divide of the different political views that we have nowadays here in America 300 years later. The biggest thing you'll see, I believe, with the political views is going to have a lot to do with what their upbringing, with how people came from and what they actually feel about life, and then also in their religious and their beliefs of what they think they should and should not be allowed to do in their country. I think that's where we really got a lot of our political views and how they feel about our government and then how they feel about different laws that are made up in this country. And that's why we have such a vast variety of different areas in this country, is due to the fact that we have all the freedom that we do have.
Awesome, thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Now we've heard the ideas of a political scientist and where he thinks people's ideas for politics come from. Now let's hear from an ordained minister and see where he thinks people's beliefs for religion come from. Over the past 2,000 years, what do you think has compelled people to pick the religions that they're a part of?
Well, really, there are 5 major religions of the world, and they include Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and in India, Hinduism. And out of those 5, really the thing that has determined the most of the members of those organizations is birthright. For example, Jews are born Jewish and they follow a family birthright. Muhammad in 1635 AD found the connection to Abraham and to the firstborn son of Abraham, Ishmael, and all of the folks that were then born as Arab automatically subscribed to the teachings of Muhammad as a way to connect themselves to their birthright. Christianity, it's more of an adoption, it's a personal choice, as is Buddhism. Hinduism really comes as well from family heritage. So really I would say it's more family heritage, and the one outlier there being a true decision is Christianity.
Thank you. Now, we can throw all the ideas and all the opinions at this topic that we want, but there's already a man who's devoted himself to finding out the real idea of what starts an epidemic and what really sparks a fire. And he put all these thoughts down in a book called The Tipping Point. and his name is Malcolm Gladwell. And what Malcolm boiled it down to was three rules that start an epidemic. The first one is the law of the few, the second one is the stickiness factor, and the third one is the power of context. Now, the power of context, what it states is an idea in an epidemic will really catch fire based on when it starts and the necessity for it starting then. The stickiness factor is how compelling it is, how life-changing, how radical the ideas are, and how easily they stick in your brain. And the law of the few is a bit more complicated because it boils down to who is a part of the epidemic, who's a part of the idea that's catching fire. And the three things, the three people, the three categories that these people need to fit into are a connector, a maven, and a salesman. A connector is somebody that connects everybody, somebody that's very outgoing and extroverted, that will go out of their way to talk to people, that has a lot of small bonds between people where they'll say hi in the hallways, they'll say hi on the streets, but they're not going to go into a lot of depth. Just deep enough where they can say ideas and they can plant ideas and have people think about them. A maven is somebody who gathers all the facts. A maven is somebody who will tell you everything you want to know, every answer, and give you evidence. And a salesman is somebody who compels you to believe the idea. You can get all the facts and you can get all the people telling you about it, but you won't devote your life to the idea and you won't spark it if it doesn't really compel you. And that's what the salesman is there for. The salesman is there to overturn the stone. First, let's apply this to religion. And it's easiest to apply the power of context to Christianity and Islam first. In Christianity, when Jesus Christ was traveling around Europe and Western Asia, it was a time called the Pax Romana. And during this time, there was almost no war, there was no conflict, and it was a time of peace. So people could travel and spread ideas freely, and this really gave Christianity a boost. And in Islam, it was a time where the Islamic people were going through a lot of suffrage, and they were going through a lot of hate because of who they were. They didn't fit in with the lowest of the low or the highest of the high, and they were right there in that sweet spot where nobody wanted to be a part of them. So when Muhammad found that there was a bloodline that made them worth something, it was really a great time for people to latch on to this new idea of religion. Second is the stickiness factor, and that's how compelling these things are again. And with Christianity, during this time, even though there wasn't a lot of war, there was still a lot of scarcity of food, and there was still a lot of social conflict. So it was really compelling for people to find an idea that said, even with all this suffrage and all this pain going on at this time, there will be a time where it's all gone, and that's an eternal time. And that was something so compelling and so life-changing that it stuck in people's minds. They weren't afraid to really jump for it because it was so crazy and so beautiful and such an amazing thing to hear. And then with Muhammad and Islam, when he brought up the idea that the people were worth something, that really stuck in their mind. When you bring up a bloodline that says you are no longer the lowest of the low, that's going to compel everybody who's been the lowest to really latch onto it, and they'll be happy and they'll be stuck to it, and that won't leave their mind. And the law of the few is the easiest to break down through Christianity because you have disciples, the clergy, and the bold who spread modern day wise. And first we'll go the clergy and theology. And now those are the mavens. Those are the people that know all their facts. Those are the people that will tell you the truths and all the evidence that you want to know. The disciples are the connectors. And every time somebody in the olden days, when they said they were Christian, when they asked, well, what sparked that? What told you about Christianity? They'll be like, oh, the disciples, they told me about Christianity. I can always trace it back to then. And then the salespeople, those would be the modern day pastors and the people that go out on missions. And these are the people that are so compelling, that are so full of joy and are so extroverted that they make people want to follow this and change their life. And that's really how the three rules apply to religion. These three rules can also be applied to politics. We'll start with the power of context. The power of context with political parties really matters when people come up with a political party that really deals with the people who are suffering and the people who are in need of change. We see this especially right after a revolution. Take the French Revolution for evidence. They came up with all these new political parties right after they took over Napoleon and took down the original monarchs. And all these new political parties that were coming up were all fit perfectly to help the people who are suffering. And eventually, only the ones who helped the most and were the most radical, those were the ones that really made it through everything. And that leads us to our next subject, is the stickiness factor. And the stickiness factor is what's most compelling and what sticks in your mind the most. And the French Revolution, again, the political parties that stuck were the ones that were the most radical and the most different from what was there before. And these stuck because they were so different that people couldn't forget them. People couldn't overlook something that was so radical and so changing of their everyday life. And the third one is the law of the few. And the law of the few really affects politics because for a political party to gain power, they have to have the three people in the law of the few. And to start is the salespeople. And these are the politicians who spread. The politicians who spread their political party's opinions are the people that will turn the stones and have people see things in a different light. These are the people that will make them compelled to follow their political party and fall under that sect. Second are the mavens, and those are the people who went to school for the politics. And these are the people who know every bullet point and every rule of their political party. And the third are the few elites who agreed, and these are the connectors. These are the people that will talk about the political party, and these are the people that will go around and spread the news. They won't be trying to conform you, they'll just be spreading. With all this talk of influence, it's important to remember that the power of influence lies in man. Not one man, not a group of men, but all men. Thank you.